Hello and welcome to NBL Overtime. What a week of NBL it was. We're officially getting to the proper business end of the season. The playoffs not far away. The race for six is heating up and we're seeing the top four do a little bit of battle. This Sunday, the Sunday that just went, was one of the better Sundays I've seen from an NBL perspective in a long time. Derek Rucker, Peter Hooley, welcome in.
Hey, it's great to be here. You mentioned it. We're starting to see that top four, a little shakeout. Again, we thought by now Adelaide might have had top spots sewn up. That's open. The race to top six is open. The MVP race is heating up. All the award watches are heating up. So this is where it becomes fun. The back 3-4 weeks, and I can't wait to see what happens.
And also, we got some guys showing their frustration. Emotions are spilling over in the public forum. Rarely do we see it like we saw it twice this weekend. It was fascinating. I can't wait to get into that.
So you wanted to bring back the biff. You want to see this stuff spill into the stands again, Derek. Is that what you're saying?
It was crazy, and we saw it really blow up in Perth. And now they've got some tough conversations to have over the course of this week as they prepare for the next games.
Let's have a look at the Mitsubishi Motors standings and see just where we sit with not long to go. Pete, you're the expert of this stuff. You crunch the numbers weekly. What do you make of it?
Well, we thought that Adelaide were going to have top spot locked up, like I mentioned, but the Phoenix have got their eyes on it now, so they've got to play each other again soon, I believe. But even the Phoenix in Perth on Wednesday is a big game. So outside of that top four, who all have a top six spot clinched, we're going to see some really big ramifications the next few games. Tasmania holding on to sixth spot. New Zealand, the injury crisis, and we didn't mention off the top, not just the injury crisis in New Zealand, injuries around the league. Really, really tough time for some season-ending injuries to some superstars, which probably dampens that race to the top six even more.
But I think in that top six, you looked over someone, and that's Melbourne United. Now they have the number 2 defense in the league. They look a lot better. They got a tough victory on the weekend, and I think as they come out of Perth and get into the balance of the season, they're going to still have some say in what happens in this championship race.
Let's crack into Adelaide and Sydney. It was one of the games of the round. I still think Sydney are criminally underrated this season.
Well, it's hard to say that. Well, right now, I think you mentioned, our moments that mattered. If they're not the hottest team in the league, they're right there behind the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix, because even through all these injuries, they bring in Tory Craig, who we'll talk about. They are firing on all cylinders. They're an elite defensive unit, and we'll talk about something a lot here in this first segment about role clarity. Their roles are so clearly defined throughout that team, with guys going out, it doesn't change anything. Everyone's stepping up. And boy, they're going to be a tough beat if they get to a championship series, which I fully expect them to.
I agree, and right now, when you look at the way they're playing, I think there's more playoff-ready type basketball coming out of the Kings than Southeast Melbourne. And that may sound crazy because Southeast Melbourne's performing at such a high level, but the way they play, where they rely on turnovers from their opponents so much, I'm not sure we're going to see that type of basketball in the postseason. So it's a little adjustment King will have to make.
One of the worrying things for other teams as well was the way they guarded Bryce Cotton, and they are starting to look very, very good defensively. And we're talking to Bryce Cotton that was coming fresh off a buzzer beater with a lot of momentum into this one.
Well, you just think about now the weapons they have. Bull Quoll going out with the ACL, a lot of people thought, they're not going to have anyone who can just go to Bryce Cotton one-on-one, and because Bull Quoll did a fantastic job. But it wasn't just Jalen Galloway. It wasn't just Tory Craig. But look at Tory Craig getting up and in and just saying, you know what, we're going to try and make it tough for him in the entire first half. And they did that. And Kendrick Davis will highlight as well. Everyone off the ball. They were just moving in unison, and it was a joy to watch. It was a defensive masterclass in that first half. And again, just to think about, now Xavier Cooks came back. They've still got to bring Matthew Dellavedova back. But that defensive identity, that's going to travel in the playoff basketball, and they've got so much offensive talent as well. We talk about peaking at the right time. Hard to argue that the Sydney Kings aren't doing that. They're the best of anybody in the league right now.
And Adelaide, when you look at the flip side of it, Bryce Cotton, look, there was an emotional win where he hit the game winner in New Zealand. They got to travel up to Sydney. It was always going to be one of those games that was going to be very difficult for him to navigate and be individually brilliant. And Brian Goorjian has done this throughout the duration of his coaching career. He throws a lot of different athletes and looks at you and hopes that you can figure out the code. Well, Bryce didn't decipher it on Sunday, but that doesn't mean he can't figure it out in the future.
They probably couldn't have asked more of Tory Craig as well. And that's the real X factor now. If he can continue this sort of form on the defensive end, on the offensive end, this team's a tough beat.
Well, it's simple for him right here in this lineup, Pete. He doesn't have to do a lot of individual creation. That is going to be what's required of him. The catch and shoot, which he couldn't do great when we last saw him here in the NBL, but years of being in the NBA and development and the reps that you get, that allows you to really become a knockdown shooter. And right now, he's shooting it at 58% from the three. He had a huge game yesterday in the pink round, and Tory Craig is a valuable piece.
He's a massive massive piece. And again, just to think about the weapons they have now, and you start thinking about the playoff picture, right? The semi-final series, who are they playing? They get to a championship series, who are they playing? I know a lot of people have said they should have brought in that true big man to help back up Tim Suarez. But I think they're going to have such an advantage when you can slide Cooks down and Torrey Craig. You can play Cooks, Craig and Kouat-Noi together, switch everything, and the amount of points you can offensively put up whilst being disruptive defensively is going to be a nightmare to play against. Adelaide had one of the best big men in the league, Isaac Humphries, and they found a way to navigate through that. All on the back of Torrey Craig, 35-year-old veteran. And we talk about this because we'll mention it when we're about to discuss Adelaide. When you bring in a high-quality talent mid-season, it is a real hard adjustment period. We should not see someone slide in like he has done without missing a beat and being so effective in everyone else's roles and they're flying like that, because not everyone can do it.
Now, it's a problem you probably want to have, but Delhi is such an interesting piece to come back into this team because he is a guy that likes to have the ball in his hands, and just by nature of that, the whole makeup of the team changes when he's in that team. Do you think they are going to... You're always better off for having Delhi out there.
Yeah.
But how do you think he's going to fit in? It's a tough little jigsaw for Gorgeous.
Well, remember, when we go back and look to the start of the Sydney Kings run, Matthew Dellavedova was a part of it. And what he was doing was really acquiescing, allowing Kendrick to go ahead and run the show at the point guard position. Delhi understands what it's about. This guy has sacrificed at the highest level to get where he is. And I think right now, he just needs to be preserved for the championship series, Pete, because we saw last season when he was overrun. Game 5, he had nothing. He had nothing against Illawarra down in the Gong, and that's not what the Sydney Kings want from Delhi. They may not need him, but they will want to have a fully fit Matthew Dellavedova if they get to a championship series Game 5.
What's that word you used?
Acquiesce.
That is beautiful.
Thank you.
The way you said it as well. No, you're spot on for the fact of he's out for concussion, right? He keeps missing these games, so clearly it's a bad one. We know he's had a history with it, so absolutely no need to rush him back. But the beautiful thing about Brian Gorge and the way he's coaching right now, Bogues, the whole coaching staff, is that Tyler Robinson's just stepped in and said, I'm ready for my opportunity. And if Delhi comes back at whenever that is, same with Jalen Galloway, and their roles start to be minimalised from that, I don't think they're the guys who are going to drop their heads. They're going to be like, no worries, we're here if you need us. We're here a part of this team. They are so bought in as this unit. They know the head of the snake is Kendrick Davis. They know what Xavier Cooks does, Torrey Craig, Kouat-Noi comes in to let it fly. Everyone's roles are so clearly defined, even with Delhi coming back, which they're destined for success because of that.
On the topic of role definition, for the Adelaide 36ers, John Jenkins, we now know he can play. There is no question that this guy can hoop. So now how do you fit him in?
This is a tough one because he can shoot the ball really well.
Oh, boy.
But the problem is, I think they're lacking one creator out there. Flynn Cameron does a pretty good job of being able to create. Bryce, we know he can create, but there's so much defensive attention. Teams are really focused on taking away Bryce's influence on the offensive end. I think they need one other guy that can put it on the deck and bring other players into it. And also, when we get to the postseason, those catch-and-shoot jumpers, they might be a little bit more contested or not available as teams really now understand what he's capable of doing and start to defend him differently.
Well, let's get to the first thing out of the way with Jenkins. Someone needs to sign him next year for the whole season.
Wow.
Because he's been here for 2 games and he is already incredibly fun to watch. He is lighting it up. We knew he was a knockdown shooter, but just getting to his spots. But you mentioned it, Felix, about bringing in a high-level talent. And he has clearly stepped into the starting lineup and had 2 very big games. But what it does is change the roles of everybody else. And with Adelaide now, they've lost 3 of their last 4. Probably should have lost that New Zealand game. If New Zealand could get an inbounds pass, they probably lose that, but they get saved by the Bryce Cotton heroics. But everyone else's roles now have changed to the point of it seems a bit uncertain what their rotations are down the stretch. Now, again, beautiful time for it to happen with still so many games left of the season to figure it out. But that combined with some defensive questions we're starting to have around Adelaide, they need to show us that response over this next week and a half.
Where do you guys sit when it comes to panic stations for Adelaide? Now, I almost vomited a couple of weeks back when you guys said there was no panic station when Melbourne United had lost 15 games on the trot. What about the Adelaide 36ers? It's only 3 from their last 4. They could have potentially lost all 4. As you said, good time for it to happen if there ever is one. But is there genuine worry right now?
For me, no, because they have a chance to reset. They have Brisbane Wednesday night in an Ignite Cup game, and then they host Southeast Melbourne. If they get 2 here, all of a sudden that gap between first and second, it expands, and then they can take a deep breath. Kind of like what Melbourne United are experiencing right now.
I'm not panicking yet because, as I said, there's still a fair few games to go to figure it out. But if this continues over the next 2 weeks, or if this happened in about 2 weeks' time, when they've only got 2.5 weeks left of the regular season, I'd start to panic just because you want to be peaking, because the Kings are going in that trajectory. The Southeast Melbourne Phoenix are. And we're just starting to see guys come like Isaac White, Matt Kenny and DJ Vasiljevic. It's like, well, what group am I playing with in the fourth quarter? What group am I playing with in the third quarter? They've got to figure all this out on the fly. Also, as I said, I'm not sure where their defensive identity's gone in the last 4 games as well. So that's one thing that the good teams, the teams we're seeing, the Kings we keep mentioning, the Phoenix, as they bring new guys in, their defense level does not change. So that's something from Adelaide. They've got more than enough talent to go and win this championship.
And I think I'm with you on that, is that it's not necessarily a massive worry for Adelaide isolated, but it's the way that other teams are starting to peak at the right time. You know who's always cool, calm and collected? Not just you, but Mike Wells as well. Let's listen to his presser after the game.
The Adelaide 36er pace and what the Sydney Kings want to try to do are 2 different paces. And we played at their pace. They got us sped up a little bit, and then 10 turnovers were the result of that. So, you know, the 10 turnovers in the first half, right every time where I thought we were starting to get our feet under us a little bit, obviously there was a big play and a run out and a 3.
You could almost carbon copy that with the presser after the game against the Phoenix, after that loss. So it's never good when the coach is preaching something, you've got to say it multiple times.
And it wasn't that they turned it over an excessive amount. They only had 13 turnovers, but relative to Sydney, who only had 6, it was problematic. And they weren't great on the offensive glass, so they were really behind in the possession game. And when you want to play a little bit of a pulled back, more reserved pace, it really makes it hard to win basketballs, especially when the Kings are in such hot form and Kendrick Davis is dominating tempo. That game was played at Kendrick Davis's pace.
And when you're top of the table as well, this all gets magnified, right? Because as we said, they really should have lost four on the trot. The New Zealand Breakers came back and they should have beat them in that game if they could inbound the ball. And we'll talk about that later because that was ridiculous. But the other part of that is their offensive execution. For a long part there, we just saw Bryce, Cotton and Isaac Humphries in a 2-man game, or if it was Island Cheatham in the short roll, and then everyone else would play off that. They're trying to now figure out their offensive execution where, OK, well, Jenkins can light it up too. So where do we put him alongside Bryce Cotton if they're taking away Bryce? The beautiful aspect of that, if they can get that offensive game plan sorted now, there's so many weapons. There are so many more weapons now.
Plus, the other thing, let's not get carried away. They had 2 straight road games, not an easy road trip. And the goal, anytime you go away for a double away trip, is to win 1. They won 1 game. Now they get to go back to Adelaide. Let's see how they do with this home stretch and see how they come out of that, what the record is, and how they're playing at that time.
Said the quiet part out loud, we do have to get carried away. That's what we do.
Because
we get carried away, we knee-jerk react.
The microscope, so of course you're going to go there being on the top of the ladder.
Well, it was a magical Sunday because there was one more game, and a game that you were advocating for violence to erupt.
Right.
Because you want to bring back the Biff. Melbourne versus Perth.
It got heated, and you could see right away defenses were energized. Perth came out in the first quarter, did a terrific job, and they took Melbourne United out of their rhythm offensively. But then Melbourne United, surprisingly, Pete, they came back strong, and it wasn't off the back of Chris Golding. It was more Milton Doyle, and this is an example right here. That ball kicks out. He shoots the ball so well in those circumstances late in the game. And, of course, this one right here, he catches him in a nice little this was the weird push there by Elijah Pepper. But in the second half of this basketball game, I thought Melbourne United played an ugly winning style, which is better than a pretty losing style. But this was a tough ISO right here. You know what he's going to do.
He needed one to go after the last few.
He's going right to left side step, Pete.
And then right here, this was the shot that everybody was talking about after. You're going to freeze frame it and say, oh, Elijah Pepper's open there. The shot clock was winding down, still had 4 seconds, could he have got in the lane. But in the end, and again, we're going to talk about the Perth Wildcats first. There's a lot to break out of this game, no doubt about it. But the Perth Wildcats, everyone wants to talk about their lack of point guard. So they don't have a point guard. David Duke Jr. still to come back. They didn't sign anyone. This is my concern more than any of that, is that they can't close out games, especially at home. So this has been this season. And these are against 3 of the better teams in the competition, too, on top of the ladder. They were up 16 against the Phoenix and they lost by 1. Up 20 against Adelaide at 3-quarter time and lost. and then up 12 against Melbourne and lost. Their closing fourth quarters and big moments are starting to concern me. I think that's more of a concern than we keep talking about the point guard. Although they kind of go hand in hand because someone who can just slow the pace and say, hey, let's execute here. Because they've shown against the best teams in the competition that they can get up double figures, that they've got the talent, the execution, but in the fourth quarters, I'm just not sure where they're going currently, especially at home. And they're losing these games that some of them should be unlosable.
What did you make of the JLA Doolittle scuffle? Pushing. Personally, I look into it. I think this stuff happens. So where did you sit, Derek?
It's frustration. And I have a belief that if John really had used one of his timeouts, gotten them organized, maybe they get a better look, which doesn't allow this frustration to come out. Obviously, JLA is upset. He didn't see the ball in that last possession. He had 24 points, but this behavior here, man, this is rare. Been in this league for 36 years now, and I've maybe seen this 2 or 3 times.
And again, the other side of it, you heard Wagstaff in the press conference as well, was saying, well, clearly these guys care. Because again, I don't want to say it was a game, an unlosable game, because Melbourne did come back and manage to get the win, but they put themselves in the box seat to win and win well. And clearly, I think you could see the start of it, Christian Doolittle walking back towards the basket was already speaking. So it might have happened before that in the full court and walking down. But we do rarely see it, but it does show that aspect of they are frustrated because they should not have lost that game. And it's not the first time, it's not the second time, it's not the third time in the clutch moments. And that frustration will boil over.
Do you think there could be an element? Now, we knew Doolittle was good, but we didn't know he was going to be this good to the point where he's a star and a leader on the team. JLA was brought in here to be the man down the stretch. Cotton's gone, JLA in, it's his ball down the stretch. But, hey, Doolittle is also now that guy down the stretch. Do you think a little bit of that adds into why those tensions may be boiling over?
So you're implying that there's some jockeying for that leadership, that alpha.
Too many alphas.
Too many alphas, too many chefs in the kitchen. Because originally when this roster was put together, I don't think they intended on Doolittle being as good as he's been.
But that's where you need Jaron really out there because he's a sensible guy. And I think he has a way of bringing everyone together. If you look at that video again and you see who was at Doolittle trying to calm him down.
Jaron Riley.
It was really. And I think they really miss him.
The DP, though.
Well, we know now that the DP is just a name only, but I think he carries himself with a respect amongst that group that they miss right now. And when you can't perform, it's hard to really be that upfront leader because guys want to see someone out there on the floor
and
with
I think
them.
we broke down this game before we got on air and we talked about their troubles closing, right? Who's their closer? Because, again, they had Bryce Collin. We don't want to keep harping on that. But you look around the rest of the league. Milton Doyle, well, yeah, he's shown that he can be a closer. Kendrick Davis. Who is their closer? And I'm not sure they have a standout closer, which is why I think, as Ruck said, it's more important that timeouts are used now in the stretch for the fourth quarters for the Perth Wildcats to execute, to draw something up where they see, like John really can sit down and say, this is where we want to get to. What are you guys seeing out there? Because they don't have that single closer to put the ball in the hands and say, hey, just go and get us a clutch bucket. And we've seen it too many times. I showed you the graphic. It wasn't just that. It happened against the Hawks as well. I think they just got to be a bit more strategic with their timeouts.
Handbrake turn back to Melbourne United. You've got an eye for good. Jesse Edwards
Got two of them.
really started it. And it's more a credit to Melbourne United as well. The way they're using him of late is much, much better.
Well, it started in the Sydney game where I know they lost, but he was enormous. And they're starting to throw it into him. We didn't see this for a long patch where they started to lose those games and pile up. He's an offensive talent. He's not just a lob threat. He's not just a putback guy. Throw the ball down to him, move off him. He's going to get himself in the right spots, and he's an absolute unit. Now they've made him that focal point again on the offensive end. It's no surprise. It's opening up shots for everyone else. It's opening up the offensive end for everyone. And as Derek mentioned as well, their defense has really lifted in the last couple of games as well. So great to see from Jesse Edwards. Had 2 early fouls. Dean Vickerman trusted him, threw him back out there, and he was massive.
He's carrying himself differently now, and he's carrying himself like he did in the first 6 or 7 rounds of the competition. He is so long. He is longer than JLA, who we thought was exceptionally long as well. So certainly. Edwards right now is getting himself back to playing a really good brand of basketball. He's great with his interior defense. Now that it's got to get Tyson Walker back, then they have those bookends.
Bit of a sour night. Nothing could really go perfectly right for Melbourne United at the moment. This one didn't look too good, does it? And, you know, concussions are so hard to really gauge now. Are you out for 2 weeks? Are you out for 6? Or are you coming back in a couple of days?
But I think that it actually shifted his jaw, because the hit was on the left side of his face and he felt the pain on the right side. Now, this was scary here in real life. When you see him stumbling and staggering around, That was alarming, and I was actually surprised that he came back into the game.
I mean, I think from what I understand, it's jaw-related. It's something he's had a couple of hits already this season. We know he likes
There'd
to
have
get
to be
up
some
and in.
concussion in there as well. The guy
That didn't look good.
wobbling.
That look you talking about light. That was really scary. They've already got the deal with that with Shaylee, who, from what we understand, is getting close to returning, which will be great for them as well. But he can't afford to miss any time. He is so important. He has been unbelievable for them this season. And it just seemed like much like the Delhi one, just a perfect hit from a Christian Doolittle elbow that was not intentional and just got him flush on the jaw, and hopefully he's okay.
Hopefully he's all good. We see him back out there soon. It's time for Ain't No Cupcake League.
Here we go.
Let's go. Derek, it's been a while since you've been over here in the hot seat, but you are not in my eyes at the moment because you guys know this, and people say this about me all the time. I'm a stickler for professionalism, being on time, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Pete, you did an interview with your friends at Dabble, and I and my other members of my family were personally disgusted. The gum in your mouth, popping around. What on earth is that?
It's gum. You just said it.
But why? Surely you spit the gum out when you're about to do a goddamn interview, Peter.
Nah, I didn't know it was going to be that close.
That is...
Mate, it's a social clip. It's about what I said.
It's a social script. It's a standard.
It's about what I said.
There is a standard we hold ourselves to, Pete, and you let everyone down.
Well, I just wanted to make sure that I had a joke lined up for episode 2, and what you did, I'm not going to go there. I'm going to be the bigger man. I'm going to walk away.
Okay, nice. Here we got another one as well. This is one. Let's just set the scene. This is one of my favourite clips ever. Now in broadcast, there's only just one camera. This was the classic scene of Ja Morant. Didn't want anyone to be looking at him. Cover him up. Oh no, it's an NBA game, and there's about 600 cameras on there as well.
He gave up too. He gave up.
Yeah. So you know where we saw a bit of a repeat of that? The big brain performance, the Perth Wildcats game. Have a look at this one. Bit of biff going on there, bit of biff. Oh. Some buffoon, and I don't use that lightly, some buffoon is putting a piece of paper in front of the camera.
They're just doing their jobs. That's their broadcast.
That's what they do. They go out there. But you know what? There's multiple angles. So we don't just have that one. So you can try all you want. All you want. We're going to get it.
Oh, take it how you want to get it.
You see right in that bottom corner, you see, come on. Can I say you idiot? I think I can say you idiot.
I think so.
Oh, I've said it now. You idiot.
Oh, that's good.
Trying to block that. What are you even thinking doing that?
He's trying to look out for his team, but also, again, the camera crew's just doing what? It's happened right in front of him. It happened right in front of him. It was on TV. Oh, OK. No, we don't want it. You're looking great. We can all agree that the Hungry Jacks free throw initiative is the best thing we've seen in the last few years in the NBL.
Terrific.
Right? It is great. The special code. This is the first year we've had the WNBL have opted on to use the code. But the unique part about the WNBL is they're putting the W in front of the code, which makes sense. The WNBL, let's put the W.
Yeah.
Let's just be careful with what the code is.
Misses the second. So burgers for the Victorian crowd. The code word is W anchor. So claim that via the WNBL app.
Now, firstly, well navigated by Joel Peterson, but for those out there, it was a W for WNBL and the code was anchor. You do not have to be a genius to put 2 and 2 together, because when you go and say that code verbally,
it sounds like
it almost does. It almost sounds exactly the same.
I'm going to start referring to people as a W anchor now as well.
Apparently it's okay. Hey, please be careful. Please be careful.
And hey, let's go over to New Zealand with our sideline reporter, former NBL champ, Cam Glidden. Cam had a little bit of problem, though. He was interviewing UFC champion Israel Adesanya.
Perfectly said.
Yeah, that's how it's said.
Thank you very much. Let's listen to Cam break it down.
Yeah, g'day guys. I'm with a celebrity superstar athlete here, Israel Adesanya. Celebrity? You're a celebrity man, I see you. Israel Adesanya. Israel Adesanya.
Oh, the extra slow-mo is
Cam, I feel bad for you. I'm on your side. It's tough. Sometimes, hey, we're talking so much, you butcher some words from time to time.
I think the D and the S just got caught in the stash.
Damn.
I think that's just what happened.
Israel Adesanya.
Oh, God. You know what the worst part was as well? He clearly almost forgot the name and he was going, I'm here with celebrity, all-round good guy, gentleman, and just kept going.
But also,
describing
that's one of the most fearful people you don't want to butcher anything, because one hit.
Yeah. Could have been brutally knocked out on broadcast. How bad would that have been? We'll be back soon after the break. Good weekend to be an Illawarra Hawk, keeping their season alive against the wet and wounded Tasmania JackJumpers. You don't usually say wet and wounded, do you?
No, definitely not.
That's a new one. You know what? We're going to roll with it.
Well, we're live.
We have to keep trucking. But the Hawks right now, we're going to touch on the race for 6 a little bit later, but this whole too big situation that they've got going, it's intriguing to say the least.
It's decent. It's decent.
It's soaked.
It's shown moments of being really, really good, but then it's looked really limp at other times. And I think just trying to get those two guys functioning well together is dependent on good guard play and point guard play, and they haven't had that on a consistent basis in terms of managing basketball games.
Well, someone who's far more stiff than limp is JaVale McGee, because we've seen him, you mentioned being sometimes good, sometimes bad. When we see this sort of JaVale McGee, this is what we want. This is what we recruited out here.
And to be fair, you talked about it working together. It does at times. And we mentioned right back when Sam Froling came back, of like, hey, this works in spurts. You surprise the team. You can start with it for like 3 or 4 minutes. But they've been staggering since that. JaVale McGee, 23 points, 9 of 10 from the field, 8 rebounds, played just 22 minutes. I like the staggered approach because the actual raw numbers, the raw data behind them both being on the floor together, it wasn't working in big stretches of games. So now they've staggered it, they're finding a whole lot of success. And I think they can continue to build on that as long as they can get everyone else on those rotations, whoever's better playing with whom. They'll keep winning games.
So you think the Twin Towers, that was just a little phase and they're going to throw that away?
I think they'll use it at times when there's certain matchups and certain teams, or, hey, we've got 2-minute stretch here, let's just surprise a team with it, catch them off guard. But in terms of what we saw at the start, I think they put that away because the raw numbers showed I think they were minus 18 or something in the first 2 games. Just wasn't going to work.
Bigs are boring to talk about. Let's get back on the guards. I can see you getting on. Why are we talking about these big oafs? Let's get back to the guards. QJ Peterson in form.
Yeah, he's a great player, and he's a guy that can really score the basketball. Whether he is the perfect fit, though, to play with those 2 bigs, I've got doubts over. But what he can do is this. And when you need buckets, he can supply them a lot. And I just don't know, though. Sometimes he seems like a winning player. Other times he just seems like a guy that's really good at putting up counting stats. But his talent is immense. It's just a matter of how can you control and harness that talent for the benefit of the team.
You are spot on with everything you just said, but I tell you what, when he catches fire, it's fun to watch.
It's hot.
It is fun to watch because he takes bad shots, he makes bad shots, and he's one of those guys that when the Hawks have struggled offensively, if Dave O'Hickey's still trying to find his feet, now he's coming off the bench with whoever he's playing alongside, you need a spark plug, and he's been that for the Hawks right now. And as I said, when he gets hot, he'll fill it up.
Well, Scott Roth always wears his heart on his sleeve. Let's see how he summed up the loss. We got there.
Yeah, I mean, I got nothing but love for what they did today. I mean, they played as hard as they possibly can. Listen, it's been an emotional 48 hours for this group. You know, obviously starting with Magnay and a crushing blow to him, and then we move into Majuk and hits his head in the first 30 seconds of that game, and that really shook a lot of us until we got to halftime to kind of regroup. And then we get the news late last night about Bryce, and so it's been quite an emotional roller coaster with these guys, but they just keep showing up and doing the right thing. And I was lucky enough when I started this franchise to build it, hopefully in a way that would weather a time like it is right now for us. And the culture and the standards are the standards, and that's what we'll fall back onto. It might not be pretty, but our guys will show up and do the right thing across the board and compete. And, yeah, that's why we have our culture. That's why we built it, for being in a storm.
You could just, and you feel bad for Scott Roth, you could just sense the disappointment in his voice there because they've worked so hard to build these things, as they say, the culture and the standards, but it doesn't matter whether you build them, you've still got to be able to compete. And when you have as many stars as they've got out, you can be as tough as you want, you can be as resilient as you want, but sometimes you're just going to get outgunned, and it happened to them again, going down to a team like Sydney, who that's very, very tough to compete.
2 seasons in a row, though. 2 seasons in a row where they look like they've got healthy and they can really give it a shake. We sat here, I'm not afraid to say, I thought they really could have contended for a title. And outside of that, it's just going to be really hard to see what they can do. And Bryce Hamilton, this is the absolute news that nobody wanted to hear. The Majuk Deng thing was really hard to watch. The Will Magna thing we spoke about was tough last year, but this man has been so it's not a past, he's a stud. He's an absolute stud. He is a joy to watch. Everybody loves the way he goes about it. So smooth. And even there, you start to think, it's just a little bit of a hyperextension and ruled out with an ACL. And what I hope and what I do, I have a lot of trust and faith in the coaches and captains when it comes to the voting time. He's an all-NBL first teamer. I really, truly believe he's an all-NBL first team. He's going to miss a bunch of the rest of this season. But what he did when everyone was out from Tassie, still putting up his numbers, he could score at all 3 levels. He is a very, very good talent and one that will be sorely missed while he rehabs, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he comes back.
This is a tough one, and I think Magnay is the key. He's the most important piece of the Tasmania JackJumpers. When they lose him, everything kind of falls apart around him. But also, we're forgetting Sean McDonald has missed all of this season. And when you put McDonald and Magnay back in your team, it changes your fortunes instantly. Now they just kind of got to regroup. Hopefully in free agency they can make some good signings, try and retain Magnay and go from there.
But we talk about them now holding on to 6th spot and trying to make it to a play-on picture. They're not going to do any damage now because of all the key guys out. If Bryce Hamilton was ruled out and Magnay and Juk Deng were okay, I actually still give them enough weapons, and Will Magnay being a foundation piece, to win a lot of games. I still feel David Johnson's playing great, Tiger Campbell, Ben Air, Nick Marshall. But losing Will Magnay was the kind of one we thought.
Let's get there while we discuss this. Let's have a look at their next 4 right now because, look, he'll go broke trying to ride off Tasmania.
Well,
They've proved that time and time again.
I think they get 2 of the next 3, Cairns, New Zealand, and Brisbane. And if they get 2, they're going to lock away that 6th spot because that puts a lot of pressure on Illawarra to basically try and win 6 or 7 of their remaining games. But then, Pete, okay, so let's fast forward. They finished 6th. They have to go out to Perth and play an elimination game. I'm still not comfortable if I'm Perth having to face Tasmania. I don't care who they put out there on that floor. They're going to come prepared. They're going to play hard. And the one-game situation we've seen in this play-in situation, it is always tricky. 5 has beaten 6 the past 2 years.
I do agree with that point of
But
in a single elimination in a single elimination game, with the way that, and you heard Scott Roth in the presser, the way that they just built mentally, that you feel like Ben Air will just hit 7 threes. You feel like Nick Marshall will have a career night because they just have nothing to lose and they trust each other. Josh Bannon playing well, they get Juk Deng back. But in terms of actually going in to do damage and win the next game and make a semi-final series, it's going to be impossible without their stars. But they'll win. Yeah, they'll hold on to 6th spot based on looking at that. And again, they've got the friendliest schedule of those 3 teams fighting for 6th.
On the flip side of this game, it was incredible the timing because it was only just the other week you were telling me you don't think that Kendrick Davis would ever score 40 points because he wasn't that type of scorer in the league, which I thought was an amazing comment from you, Pete, on record. But look what he's gone out and done.
We're not going to say that because the Kings keep receipts. Kendrick, I did not say that. That is one thing, absolutely not. He is a superstar. He is an absolute stud. The 40-piece, and I tweeted after this game about how the year when Jalen Adams won MVP, the last from round 18 onwards, his numbers against Bryce Cotton. This was the way that he opened his round 18 with a 40-piece and then backed it up with a massive game on Sunday. Kendrick Davis is coming. Kendrick Davis is well and truly getting for that MVP.
And you match him up against Bryce and you look at this MVP race, they each have very strong cases. And we're not knocking either player because they're both brilliant and tremendous for our league. So when you put one above the other, it isn't degrading the other one. I think people need to understand that. But when you look at Kendrick's numbers, he doesn't play as many minutes per game, which is going to affect his raw numbers. But when you look at the advanced metrics, Bryce is slightly ahead. So it's going to be very tight. I said the race was over a few weeks ago, Felix.
Yeah, which a lot of people did. A lot of people did as well.
I still think Bryce is going to win it. But, geez, Kendrick has been fabulous.
Well, I think whoever doesn't win it out of those 2, right? I mean, Nathan Sobey's still in the hunt. I know he had a couple of quiet games, but he's been phenomenal. Whoever doesn't win it out of Kendrick and Bryce, if you go back, take out last season because it was the same story, and pick the last 8 years before that and put that statistical season up in the MVP race, they're winning. They've just been that good. It just happens to be that they're going against each other for it.
Kendrick finishes second again. He could be the most hard done by guy that could easily be a back-to-back MVP. But we talk about this MVP race between Bryce and Kendrick. You know what you need to win an MVP when it's such a close battle?
What's that?
Iconic moments. And Bryce Cotton added yet another one against the New Zealand Breakers. And what an amazing finish that was to the game from both sides. PJC was huge down the stretch, but Bryce was just Bryce.
This kills me, especially from a New Zealand perspective, because by my count, Pete, this is the 8th game New Zealand has been in a highly winnable position and failed to close the deal. PJC was really good. He's a guy making a case for his first team all-NBL position. Whoa, boy. We can have that discussion at a later time. Sam Menenga, had he not got injured, would have been in the talk also. But this was a fantastic basketball game that goes into overtime, and overtime is where New Zealand just kind of blew up mentally. That was a terrible help situation there. by Tarangi coming off the shooter. And then this play here, Pete.
Well, Ruben Tarangi's got to inbound the ball. As a veteran who's been around the league long enough, you're putting a lot of pressure on a young next star. We say that. Karim Lopez is going to make that pass 99 times out of 100. But in the pressure
You don't
moments,
put the youngest guy on the floor to make the biggest pass.
and then I'm not switching this. So you had Matt Kenyon go and set a rub screen, just double Bryce. Because if Bryce then throws it to Matt Kenyon, you live with the Matt Kenyon results. Just really poor in self-inflicted wounds for New Zealand Breakers. And I said off the top that they should have beat Adelaide. They're also down 7 or 8 with a minute and a half to go. So Adelaide should have won in regulation. But in overtime, New Zealand just handed them the win. And then you put the ball in Bryce Cotton's hand on an island where he can just shake and bake, get to his spots. You know it's going to be a step back. You're either going to foul him or he's going to hit it. He's going to hit it every time.
You know what's coming, and you still can't stop it.
Take it away from him. Make somebody else beat you. Make someone else shoot the basketball. Initially, even on the inbounds, Pete, it was just single coverage, and they allowed Bryce to get it in easily. There was no pressure. There was no persuasion to push the ball away from Bryce. In fact, I'm probably rushing him as he comes to the half-court line and making him give it up.
It was the perfect opportunity. Matt Kenyon was right there setting a rub screen. Just go and double, Bryce. Get it out of his hands, see what happens. But, yeah, that was one of the New Zealand Breakers. That could really hurt them in their race for sixth spot. But, again, sometimes greatness is just going to do great things.
It certainly does. Well, couldn't have put it better myself.
I thought what was the word?
Karim Lopez, I think it's because he plays in New Zealand and we just don't hear as much of them because they're across the pond. We just don't hear enough about this guy. He's absolutely unbelievable. And again, he's getting better and better as this year goes on, as you'd expect. But his 21 and 11 were huge. And he's a criminally underrated rebounder because the stats don't tell the whole story. He's tipping it away. He's a quick jumper.
And those are the things that the scouts really like to see. They want to see that extra effort stuff, the little things, because if he gets to the league or when he gets to the league, those are the types of things they'll be looking for him to do in game.
Well, he's getting a higher and higher of the draft boards with every single passing game.
Where's he at now?
The last one we saw, I can't remember what the mock draft was. We saw 11 or 10, but he's in the top 10 right now. He'd have to be over the back of the last few performances. And I know they want to see more on the defensive end, but he's been very good there as well. This kid is a superstar, man. He's doing this as a second-year pro teenager about to go and live his dream. So I can't wait to see how high he can get drafted. And it'll be a great celebration for both the Breakers and Karim.
Well, it was a little bit sour as well for the Breakers, not only just the loss, but Sam Menenga with the wrist injury. Now, credit to him. He came down so hard. Oof. This could have been a collarbone, anything, and must be tough as nails because he went out and played the rest of the game and didn't look like he was injured at all. Turns out he's got a broken wrist.
There's a tough break, and Menenga's having an outstanding season. You know, he's another guy. Man, that
could have been elbow. You think Andrew Bogut, that horrific injury.
But when you look at Menenga's season, arguably first team all NBL, without a doubt second team, and in the conversation for most improved and next gen. Coming into free agency, he will be one of the top 3 guys that is highly sought after. And let's just hope he can get himself better.
And again, if you understood what he was on that rookie deal, essentially, right now, the way he's been playing, he is about to get paid handsomely, well-deserved. Big decision for the New Zealand Breakers to try and keep him there, the local core. He's going to have other NBL teams interested. Japanese market will be interested. The NBA with a 2-way contract is not off the table because I think he's shown that he can play at that level, but still so young. And the injury does hurt, but I think he's done more than enough, as you mentioned, to go and get paid.
And the thing with Menenga as well, and it's ironic that I'm saying this right after he's got an injury, but it's a freak injury. It's a landing injury. Out of all the local bigs in the league,
they're all injured now.
They're all injured. They're all perennially injured. He's healthy. You get him out there every week, and he's just as good as any of the others.
It hurts the Breakers, though, in terms of that, not just getting to a 6th spot, but causing some damage. It's going to take something ridiculous for them not to be in the Ignite Cup final, which we'll touch on shortly. That's going to hurt their chances of winning that. So, yeah, it's a really tough way to end.
Well, we're going to cut to a break. South East Melbourne up next. South East Melbourne Phoenix are quickly becoming the most watchable team in the league, no matter who you support, putting up points en masse against anyone who is coming up against them. We'll chat about the Breakers game first. Beat Cairns as well, go 2 for 2 for the weekend. But that first half, 74 points?
Yeah. Wow. Historic. I mean, we were just sitting there watching it, part of the Ignite Cup, but they couldn't miss. And just the way they're going about it, by committee, yes, they've got an MVP candidate in Nathan Sobey, but outside of that, and Josh King said it a couple of weeks ago in his press conference, no one cares whose night it is because they've got weapons everywhere. And you talk about peaking at the right time. I still think defensively they've got to kind of lock back in a little bit because some teams are running up the score on them. But offensively, loaded. Angus Glover, balling out. Where's a Wondu, balling out. Ian Clark found his groove. Geordie Hunter's had a couple of quiet games by his standards, but he can drop 20 and get hot from outside. Nathan Sobey's had 2 quiet games by his standards. You talk about being watchable. Not only that, they are in the box seat to go and win a championship for the first time in their franchise history.
And I think Josh King will make the adjustment with their defense and get them really cranked up again. They've had about 3 or 4 rounds where they've started to hemorrhage points, but I don't think it's a major concern because the bottom line is they generate enough turnovers and they score enough easy buckets on the offensive end that he's not too worried about it. And let me tell you, when you talk about excitement, if you love seeing a team shoot the 3-ball with no cares whatsoever, with no conscience whatsoever, check out the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix because they get them up.
And out of all the names mentioned, all the stars they've got across their roster, Wes Owundu is the one that you're probably like, OK, well, we didn't expect it to sort of explode like it has. 20-plus in his 3 of his last 4.
Well, this is a great signing, and off the back of 1 bad signing in Brent Blindberg, and then the questionable signing.
That is nostalgic.
The questionable fit of Hunter Maldonado, who's gone on to play well. But Awandu, this has been a sensational find. One of the top signings in the competition, and he is the perfect import for our league. He can handle the ball, he can shoot the 3. He's a perfect fit for the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix, and he plays with a joy that I really like.
Hey, Scott Roth came out to press, I believe it was just a week ago, saying that he thinks Brian Goorjian is not even close for Coach of the Year.
Oh, it's close.
Absolutely love Brian Goorjian, but surely, if you're thinking of anyone outside of Josh King right now, considering that a lot of people, as we've said before, didn't have this team picked to win many games at all, let alone be arguably the hottest team in the competition, I think it's Josh King's award to lose by a long way.
I understand exactly what Scott said, and I agree with a whole lot of those points. I mean, what Brian Goorjian's done with a team that's missing so many key players and still not only just winning games, but winning the way they are, he is going to get a whole lot of votes. But for me, for my vote right now, I've got Josh King for all the reasons you just said. But people wrote this team off and said they don't have enough offensive firepower. They've got a 35-year-old Nathan Sobey. He's not going to lead them to the promised land. And they've done all that and more. And everybody is bought in. Where's Owundu? What a great signing. The fact that he had a couple, I think it was like 4 or 5 games where he wasn't shooting the ball well, he was down on confidence and had a chat with Josh King and has come out now and just lighting it up. This is going to be a tough team to beat 3 times you talk about a championship series because their defence, as we can continue to talk about, I think Josh King will tweak some things and help them to get back to being that absolutely elite defensive unit. But if you think you're keeping the starting 5, hey, Wes and Sobey have been quiet today. This is good. In comes Glover and in comes Ian Clark. They're not all going to have quiet nights at the same time.
They're deep. And right now, to get to that point about Coach of the Year, I got it even. I've got it even. King
you're a
and
Goorjian
Goorjian.
man.
King and Goorjian's even. If you look at the start Sydney got off to, he brought them back from there. And your point, Felix, is absolutely correct. No one anticipated this type of performance for Southeast Melbourne. So they both have really good arguments. How they go down the stretch is going to be massive.
Oh, it is, and that's why I said it's the closest race. But if you had to give your vote, Derek, right now, who is it?
You watch out. Goorjian's been buttering him up. I've seen the text. Goorjian's he knows what he's doing. He's buttering you up.
No. I don't have a vote. But who would I say? Right now, I think King is slightly ahead.
And much like
Slightly
the MVP
ahead.
race, whichever coach doesn't win is going to be mighty unlucky for the reasons Brian Goorjian's been phenomenal in that turnaround, but still has managed to not just keep them winning, but winning well. And then Josh King, again, we can't speak highly enough.
This is the best time of the year because we've got the race to player awards, Coach of the Year, Defensive Player, MVP, but it's also the race to 6th. For me, is one of the most entertaining parts of the season, year in, year out, the play-in spot as well. Let's have a look at it because right now it's New Zealand, Hawks and Tassie. A lot of people thinking the Hawks could pull a Bradbury here. Tassie have the easier schedule and New Zealand dealing with injuries.
What spot are they going for?
6th.
I just thought there was a D in it last time you said it. Yeah, very interesting, the pronunciation. Very good. It's going to be tough because we mentioned that Tassie, they've got a very easy schedule. They've got a friendly schedule. The Illawarra Hawks have to win a whole lot more games, but they are the healthiest team. They are the team that could go and do it with all the weaponry they have. They've got enough talent to actually cause some trouble if they start to click. The New Zealand Breakers, well, they've got to win some games and they're limping.
Well, let's check out the New Zealand schedule here. Their final 4 games. Now, unfortunately, with no Menenga, loss.
That's tough. And PJC is going to have to be brilliant to lead that team. But I only see 1, maybe 2 victories in there, Pete.
I mean, Sam Menenga, and Rob Baker. Let's not forget Rob Baker, the ACL. So if they could lose one of them for the season, we saw without Baker, they can still get it done. But to lose both their big men, their starting front court is going to be Ruben Tarangi and Rob Lowe. Having said that, then it's still in a New Zealand uniform. It's not a Tall Blacks jersey, but it's a New Zealand uniform. You never know what superpowers they could get.
The Hawks next 4 as well. It doesn't get any easier for them, Derek.
It doesn't. If you look at their roster, look, they should win tonight in Brisbane. But if they blow that game, yeah, they should beat Brisbane tonight. If they don't, good night. It's over. Sydney Thursday night, tough one at Perth. Hosting Perth. Look, it's Tasmania's spot. It's Tasmania's spot to lose.
And I'll say this now. Brisbane could come out and win by 20 against Illawarra tonight. Most likely not, but anything can happen. So we sit here saying they're going to do this. Brisbane might win out for the rest of the year.
They might come out and hit 10 threes in the first quarter.
Yeah, so I'm sick of standing here and trying to predict it. So we're going to cut to a break and we're talking Ignite Cup final a little later.
From halfway at Hoops Fest Tyson Walker's found his range. He's going to get one here too. He turns the corner, unloads. Oh my goodness. Let it go! Guarded by Menenga. Steps back. Good night. Bryce Cotton at the death.
Big shout out to Mitsubishi Motors. They're covering it all. The Mitsubishi Motors standing, the Mitsubishi Motors leading threes. You're driving a Mitsubishi, Pete?
Oh, beautiful car, the Outlanders. Absolutely beautiful.
I'm sure they want it with the way you're driving. But anyway, Bryce Cotton, 88, still very, very catchable. Tough, but doable.
Certainly is. And Cotton, he'll go home, though, Pete. And I think in his next 2 games, he'll hit at least 8 in total.
Yeah, I'm with you because, again, we talked about this. We know the MVP race is heating up. He knows it's heating up. And who loves to rise to the challenge the most? 5-time MVP Bryce Cotton, who should already have 6.
Well, bookie Jetstar fights because the road to the Gold Coast is starting to heat up. Get aboard the Bogan missile. Can you say that?
We'll go.
Is that politically correct these days?
Not sure you can, but New Zealand's sitting on top with 20 points.
Not the
They're
worst
in pretty much. They can almost book their spot, book their tickets. Who are the challengers, Pete?
Well, so we're going to find out on Wednesday night. That'll decide who we have in the final because Adelaide, we expect them to beat Brisbane. So say even if they just win the game, they'll get to 18 points. And then Perth have to beat the Phoenix in every quarter and win the game to tie with New Zealand. So again, everyone's going to assume that Adelaide 36 will beat Brisbane. Yep.
Yeah, and
so they'll be there.
But New Zealand the other night in that game where Southeast Melbourne lit them up, their performance in the second half guaranteed their spot. I think New Zealand's good.
I think it's a New Zealand-Adelaide Ignite Cup final, which hurts with the Sam Menenga injury as well. The Adelaide 36ers could finish top, could go win a championship, and could win $300,000 as well.
And a double header for the Ignite Cup on Wednesday, which means time and a half for those freelancers who invoice. Everybody celebrate at home. But of course, we've got Brisbane, Adelaide, Perth, and Phoenix. And Adelaide probably the one to watch there.
Well, it is. If they go and they'll win the game, right?
You would want to go into that one winning 4 quarters.
Either way, so that'll put them into the Ignite Cup final. And then if Perth beat the Phoenix in every single quarter, I think when it gets down to it, because they break it down with a tiebreaker, they'd be tied with New Zealand. They'd essentially have to beat Southeast Melbourne by 33 or something to get to the Gold Coast, which I don't think will happen. So you never know. Again, we mentioned it. You never know what could happen.
Southeast Melbourne could technically get in if Adelaide lose to Brisbane and don't get any quarters, Southeast Melbourne get all 7, basically.
So they can't get in. You think Brisbane will beat Adelaide?
No.
Well, that just wasted 7 seconds of airtime.
Hey, what about our man Damon? Of course, you're in the seat because we're about to jump into some beat the coach stuff.
Yep.
He went on his 24-hour run.
He didn't finish it. Don't bring it up.
Oh, he didn't finish it?
Yeah, he didn't finish.
On a 40-degree day. Ludicrous.
Yeah, well, David Goggins would have finished it, wouldn't he? Oh. Wave the seal. What?
Well, it looked like he was in some serious, extreme pain. I saw the ice packs and everything out. He was going through all types of measures to try and get himself right. I think he made it to 20 of 24 hours of running 5 kilometers at the top of every hour.
It's absolutely ridiculous. And to even attempt it when you see the weather forecast, he's built differently. But also, you talk about being a little bit of pain.
He didn't complete it.
He was in
He didn't complete the task.
We know he'll be back. His Supercoach team, though, with Juk Den going out. So I know there's one more game to go tonight.
Let's see the numbers.
He's going to be in a bit of trouble, I think.
If you want to beat the coach, scan that QR code right now. The man that ran for 20 hours, was it?
I think it was 16.
16?
Yeah, he was disappointed.
Hold up, our man's hyping up the 24-hour run. He did 16.
First, at this point, you should run 16 seconds if you're going to go back, Damon.
All right, we're going to cut to a break. A little bit more coming up next. Don't forget, Brisbane Illawarra not far away as well. Not far away, Brisbane taking on the Illawarra Hawks. Illawarra in the hunt for 6th. But these are, now obviously nothing's a must win, but it's about as close as you're going to get to it because the Bullets, the season cannot possibly end quick enough for them.
I'd 100% categorise this as a must-win if you had to throw it up there.
No, but it's not a must-win. They will still be alive if they lose this.
I'm not sure, actually.
Well, seeing how this is the worst team in the competition, it is a must-win because if you don't beat them, you are in a lot of trouble beating teams that are better than them.
Thank you.
You're in a lot of trouble, but you're not dead. So it's not technically a must-win. But we're not going to get stuck down into semantics on this one. So instead, we're going to talk about Jacob Holt because we spoke before about Sam Menenga, Will Magnay, all these good local bigs. It's a very hard thing to come by, and they usually get very well paid. I am a huge fan of what Jacob Holt's been able to do on the back end of this year with some injuries into that lineup and being able to get some proper court time. I think he's going to be a special little player.
He's shown a lot more than I had anticipated. He can shoot the ball from deep. He's rough. He's rugged. He throws his body around. He's pretty good in screening and dribble handoff situations. He's probably been the best find in a number of years for the Bullets.
Well, again, shout out Vandy because he said, I think you can go and get an Australian passport, and they got him in. And to use him as a local, as a backup big in the next few years is going to be really exciting to build around. I love that he's shooting a 3-ball now, too. Continue to let that fly because this is what, if you want to go and be the party spoiler down the stretch, everyone gets a green light. If everyone who's available, they haven't got many bodies left, you can shoot the ball.
Speaking of bodies left, well, actually, it's not really bodies left, the coaching carousel for the Brisbane Bullets. Any closer to locking in a coach? Are there any more names that have come up on the whiteboard?
No, nothing more yet. I think they're just kind of holstering that till the end of the season just to figure out that full review. What else do we need to change? How do we make sure that we're currently at the bottom of it? It can't get any worse. So we need to make sure that we continue to build up.
Now, the issue for the Brisbane Bullets is they leave it going. You knew exactly what I was going to say there as well. It could get worse. They could have lost 3 more games for the year. For the Brisbane Bullets, you've obviously got to start putting your roster together. You've got to move with urgency right away. How long do you leave that coaching search go? Because we've seen teams backfire on this a little bit where they find their coach later on after securing a roster.
Well, it seems like Will Weaver was in the driver's seat, but that seems to have cooled down in the final few weeks. And I don't know what's transpiring. I would imagine that any head coach coming in is going to be a very strong negotiator and have a lot of leverage.
What about D-Mac? If D-Mac isn't coaching the Brisbane Bullets, is there some smoke circling somewhere else potentially?
Haven't heard anything about that.
Haven't?
No. I've got a big game to watch. I'm just looking forward to some
Let's
moves.
hype it up. Hey, Brisbane, Illawarra hunting down that 6th. Maybe it's a must-win.